Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. This is not a drill. This is not a drill. It's real world or exercise. It's real world. It's real world. So, famous line there from 9/11. You know your 9/11. So, getting the messages here. Right. Pyramids, Egypt, Giza. Um, Yeah, pyramids, Egypt, Giza. Well, not Giza in this particular place, a bit further down the road, but the whole pyramids of Giza thing, apparently all the things that were underneath the pyramid have been confirmed, and all the previous information about piles driven into fucking miles into the ground and structures underneath the pyramid. Apparently, all that's been confirmed at this point and is all real. Another one is what she's about to mention here. I've actually watched a documentary on this in recent history, but I didn't make a video on it, but I should have. Another complex underneath the pyramid, possibly the Labyrinth, a very famous labyrinth spoken of in history, that if you went into, you were never coming out of, apparently. A very, very elaborate labyrinth. Yeah, but basically the pyramids have been buried, and everything has been buried. Like, again, we dig all this stuff up, and it's all been buried, and we just haven't dug deep enough down. Basically, is kind of the crack here. There's a lot more down there, but history and the powers that be, and they don't want to dig it up. That's the truth of it. They don't want to dig it up because people might figure out what's going on. Again, we know who built these pyramids. We know. It's all been said and it's all been told that we know who built the pyramids. It was not slaves with ropes and all this bullshit. This was never a thing. That never happened. And the Nephilim and descendants that built the pyramids and built all these great structures around the world that we can't figure out how they built them. We can figure out how they built them. So yeah, we know who built the pyramids. We think we even know why they built the pyramids. Again, it's some sort of energy power plant in a way, not possibly not electric, but even maybe in a form of electric. Yeah, and the previous technologies maybe weren't as advanced as we are now in some ways, but in many ways we're more advanced than we are now. Again, moving stones of unbelievable sizes, but even then, that can be explained by giants. To be honest, massive fucking giants were moving all these stones. And that's who built all these things and built the pyramids, and it was more like a tinker toy to some of these giants than to us, you know what I mean? So it's madness. It is madness. I'll be the first to say, but that's what it is. That's who built all these things. That's the knowledge as well was given to them by the Watchers. That's how they got all the knowledge. That's how they had advanced technologies, etc. Because they were given the knowledge. This is all part of the tale. They were given the knowledge too early. Mankind got a massive boost in knowledge in one generation or two generations that it should never have had. Also, the giants came of it, and all of them things wrapped up to one were catastrophic. And there was a big flood. So the pyramids were flooded, and everybody was murdered, and what you see now is what was left after the flood. After then, we found it and have dug a lot of it up, but I wouldn't even say we've dug 50% of it up. But what you see now is what remains after a massive flood. Again, there's watermarks on the Sphinx, etc. Water lines, like the water's been going down gradually over months and months because the world was flooded for months on end. So that's the water levels on the Sphinx. You can see them as the water came down. Yeah, it was all flooded and destroyed. Again, the force of water, the force of nature ripping across the land. Most things were knocked over. Some things stood depending on how they were hit. I mean, I maybe think that even the Colosseum, you know what I mean, in Rome, that looks like it's been decimated on one side. could that have been hit by the tidal wave as well? And was the Romans before the flood? I mean, I don't know. Like again, it's again Adrian's Wall. I've mentioned this. Adrian Walls looks like it's been hit by a cataclysm and wiped across straight, all at the same height. Again, the tail people stole it to build things. Well, why did they steal it and leave it at the same height? None of this makes sense. Do you know what I mean? It's not logical. Why would you go along the wall and steal it the same? You would just fucking steal the full wall to the bottom, wouldn't you? And then move to the next bit. So that doesn't make sense. So yeah, like it's as if the Romans were took out by a cataclysm. This whole fall of Rome and how they tell us Rome fell. It doesn't quite match up with what we dig all this Roman stuff up. So it's as if to me the Romans were hit with some sort of cataclysm that wiped the Roman Empire off the earth. It wasn't anything to do with their economies and lusts and all this bullshit. Kind of looks like they were hit with a cataclysm. Now, why you would cover that up? If we have systematic cataclysms on this planet, and they're not that far apart in terms of a couple of 100 years, possibly. You would cover that up because there's no point doing a lot of things if in 300 years everything gets wiped, the slate's wiped clean. There's no point building a lot of shit here and doing half the things we're doing, and we should just probably be. I mean, we're living lives all wrong with materialism and all this. You can't take. That's the other side of it. We can't take any of this shit with us. It's really all about knowledge, this life, but you've been kind of brainwashed to think that's not what's going on here, but really that's all you've ever got. And if there is something next, which I believe there to be, and again there's a tale there is, and you get to take your knowledge and your consciousness with you, that's something that's eternal, then everything you learned here will go with you, you know what I mean? So you can go to the next world a dumb motherfucker, or you can go with a bit of intelligence again, and that's kind of your only options if there's a next life, because everything else, money, all these material possessions aren't coming with us, are they? You know what I mean? So all you've probably ever got is knowledge. Yeah, and that's what we do. Look for the answers, look for what's going on, look for the conspiracies. But the conspiracies are often things that are being covered up because it's the knowledge that they don't want you to have. Because stupid people ask less questions. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of the way of it. Keep the people stupid. They ask less questions, and we don't have to bother answering them. So let's have a listen to this, or not.
Guys, more scans have come out about stuff that is underground in Egypt. This time, different place, Hawara Pyramid, different team. Let's get into it. Right, for visuals, this is what's left of the Hawara Pyramid, which is further down the Nile in the Fayoum ancient oasis area of Egypt. It is where the legend of the lost labyrinth of Egypt is, and it was actually visited by Herodotus in like 300 BC, and he wrote about seeing with his very own eyes the upper levels of this ancient labyrinth, and spoke about how he was told how deep it goes, and he said it was more impressive than the pyramids of Egypt, which is a big claim. Big claim. Now, important historical context. In 2008, a French team...
Herodotus. So again, does that not kind of tie in with there being a cataclysm after with the said cataclysm? Because it's all gone now, do you know what I mean? But Herodotus wrote about it, so again, I don't know. I kind of think the timeline's all wishy-washy here. Just from a lot of, like, again, I think I base a lot of that on we dug all the Roman shit up. So it's as if the Romans were hit with a cataclysm and they've maybe put the Romans after when it was before. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, but it just seems very strange that all these Roman structures are they're decimated and knocked over, and you know what I mean, and kind of look like all the other stuff that we dug up. So that's kind of my theory that there was a cataclysm, or there's either been two, or the timeline's wrong on this cataclysm. I don't know. I mean, we have this talk of a mud flood, but I just can't kind of see how that's happened, if you know what I mean, and worldwide. I'm struggling to get my head around how that could take place, and wipe half the. Yeah, I haven't quite got my head around that one, to be honest. But anyway, I lost Labyrinth in Egypt here. Lost Labyrinth. I think there was a tale of like the Greek, this possibly the Greek labyrinth and the Minotaur. Possibly is that a crack? And apparently this labyrinth was the Greek labyrinth was a joke apparently compared to the Egyptian one. 4 levels, and once you went in again, you may never come out. It was kind of the crack. Whether there was a beast in there to kill you in there, and I don't know. The crack in the Greek. What was the Greek one? No, that was possibly the Minotaur was in the labyrinth, and people were thrown into the labyrinth for the sacrifice to the beast, possibly. So along them lines, there's a lot to learn here. Do you know what I mean? It's Jason and the Argonauts all over again here. It was a real long film. So yeah, more structures under the pyramids. Again, this labyrinth, but they won't dig it up because they don't want us to know what's gone on here. Like history is definitely being covered up and changed. And again, his story is a massive clue that it's maybe not the truth. So then I'll play a bit more.
Team led by Louis de Cordier got permission to scan around the Hawara pyramid, and they found results of underground structures at around minus 18 meters. They found granite shapes and structures, and there was a whole chaotic battle with the Ministry of Antiquities and Zaihawas at the time when they were trying to announce their findings. There was a lot of red tape. Essentially, Zaihawas was saying there's nothing.
Yeah, they wouldn't let them release the information and try to cover it all up. I literally watched a documentary on this the other day. And yeah, again, they don't want people to understand. The minute you start uncovering what's really underneath these pyramids and what really has gone on, none of this can be explained by the methods explained to us and how they built all this. It's out of the window. And again, the truth of it is, fucking giants built all this, right? And somewhere down the line here, you're gonna figure that out. If you keep digging and digging, you'll figure out that giants built all these fucking structures. And some of them were big fucking giants as well. And that's how they moved all these stones of ridiculous sizes. There was ridiculous giants here. And it all come from a union of, the Watchers with human women, a divine source. This in essence proves the Bible to be fucking true. To be honest, this is the problem. It absolutely proves the Bible to be true. Now, the minute you figure out the Bible's true, well, you've won, mate. You've won the game here. This is the whole game on planet Earth. Figure out or don't figure out before the end of the game or end of your game that the Bible is true, right? That's pretty much it. That's it. You were born. It's madness, but you were born into this crazy, mad biblical world where it's literally the whole tale of this story is just biblical. It's the Bible tale. You were born into it, as mad as it is. You don't live long enough to fucking see the whole tale. You're just born at a fraction of a time. Well, this is the story. Like you've, and all this kind of leads you back there. Like, soon as you start figuring out who's built what the history of this planet, the true history, what happened before the flood, it kind of proves the Bible to be true, which proves there's a fucking God. Which I would edge on the side of caution. If there's a God, there's probably a devil. And again, he's not red. He's not red. He's not a little demon creature. He's a man. Like Lucifer was a man. Like God's a man. Like we were built in his image. So what the angels look like us. They look in like human form. That could be the natural form. We were made in God's image, so that God's natural form, although these things can turn themselves into anything and anybody, the natural form is us. So it's Lucifer was a man, like, and a very beautiful man. That's how he seduced Eve, and the whole tale of Adam and Eve and the apple. It's got nothing to do with a fucking apple, and there was no snake, right? This is all symbolism, if you want. Like, there was no apple. There was no snake. Satan, or Lucifer, slept with Eve. That was what happened. Eve begat a child called Cain to Satan. Abel was the son of Adam, I believe. Cain was the son of Satan. Cain killed Abel, the first murder. But the tale really, there's no apple, there's no snake here. This is all symbolism. It's that didn't happen in that sense. Satan or Lucifer is a man, So, and again, a very beautiful man, one of the best looking men you've ever seen. Apparently, he was God's favorite angel, meant to protect God's throne, but turned on God. And I believe the archangel Michael is now both the ruler of heaven's armies, and also now took Lucifer's job as the protector of the throne. This is the tale, right? Whether you believe it or not, this is the tale. But the tale, if you look back, is kind of, again, the people who built all these fucking things that we can't fathom how they built them. The people who built all these things came from a biblical divine origin, right? That's why they were giants. So, you've got to work your way back, to be honest, and in doing so, you might find the truth. And it's fucking madness. It takes some wrapping your head round massively. I honestly went from the position of an atheist. It takes some fucking wrapping your head round, but if you don't, you'll just be wrong. That's another way of looking at it, because that's who fucking built all these things.
Under there, we don't want you to announce the scans. It all got a bit bleh, which is why these new scans are so important, because they validate a lot of what the 2008 scans were trying to show, but even better. So these are the freshly dropped satellite scans that show very detailed and accurate, topography of the underground chamber complex that is around the Hawara pyramid, with some very, very exact measurements. Now, who did the scans and what kind of scans are they? I'm just going to relay this now. So the company is called Merlin Burrows, and they are a digital satellite scanning company. You can go to their website. They do lots of locating and recovering national treasures, searching for a lot of wartime ships that they found, aircraft, ancient, modern and current, lots of archaeological sites, minesweeping, land surveys, and they're a legit company. And there is a guy who works for Merlin Burrows who is called Tim, what's his name? Timothy something. Here he is, Timothy Akers, head of research for Merlin Burrows. He is ex-military satellite scan expert, and so he's a researcher and programmer, and he honed his craft in the British Army Satellite Scan Security Division. Now, he was able to do this Hawara scan project. This was back in 2015, but they're releasing it now, I think probably because of the success of the other scans.
Yeah, well, I think they've just the kind of weren't allowed, and we were told not to, and I think just because the other stuff's come out, they thought, fuck it, And again, no one's getting any younger here. You know what I mean? No one's getting any younger, and people are silencing the truth on so many levels in so many places that some people have just had enough. And with the internet as it is right now, that's the other side of it. They're shutting the internet down on us, aren't they? So speak your truth now, or forever be silenced. There's another way of looking at it. So yeah, I mean, there's that. We know a lot more than general knowledge or official history lets on, if you know what I mean. We know a lot of what's going on here now, and if you look into it, as we've seen, I mean, I haven't got a complete 100% understanding of it, but I mean, I would say I'm in the high 80s at this point. I mean, in the high 80s of what the fuck's going on here. There's a lot of, I mean, I was watching listening to summit about Jezebel, again, from the Bible, again, very, very, very famous woman in many ways, women called Jezebels, and it all comes from a biblical origin, obviously. But I was learning the tale of Jezebel and how she married the Israeli king, and she liked the storm god Baal, and she brought Baal to Israel, and was trying to get the Israeli people to worship Baal instead of Yahweh, and then eventually a great drought came, and fascinating story, to be honest. Fascinating story. If you haven't heard it before, Jezebel. And within the Bible, there's hundreds and hundreds of stories, individual stories of people like Jezebel, like Samson and Delilah, and all these people, and different tales. King Solomon, fucking King David. All these different tales of different people, full lives, in fact, of all the tales of these people, and many individual stories and great stories as well. There's a lot to learn. Like, there's so much to learn. Again, that's kind of what I'm starting to do now. Look through individuals in the Bible and their tales. Again, Jezebel was the last person I was having a look at there. But I again listened to about a story of the archangel Michael, and I think Raphael as well. I listened to Raphael's tale as well, and all fascinating tales. Again, people think all this is made up. Fuck me, man. You were one. You were the fucking. If you manage to make up all these stories like one person, you know what I mean? And again, it's all one story. That's the beauty of it. The Bible wasn't written by the same person. It was written by multiple people, and all these people corroborate each other in different stories, and talk about the same events in different stories. It's all kind of collaborated. That's why very intelligent people believe in the Bible, because it backs itself up. But not just that, I think the Roman Empire back it up as well, with a lot of their recorded history. They recorded certain things about Yeshua and him being alive at the time, and crucifixions and various things, to be honest. So there is some proof and truth if you look. And again, it's a massive part of belief, isn't it? If you don't believe, you don't believe. And no matter, people can offer you proof all day, and if you don't want to believe, you don't want to believe. And that's some people. That's an atheist in many ways. I used to be there myself. It took quite some coaxing to get me over the line originally. You know what I mean? And I wasn't. Again, and I know because I used to be there, but I didn't jump over this line overnight. You know what I mean? It took months and months and months of learning and coming to terms with the truth, to be honest, because the truth is far from what you've been led to believe most of your life. There's another side of it. I'll say a bit more.
They feel like there's an audience here to really take this seriously. But yes, he said that the scans of the Hawara pyramid were done in conjunction with friends of his who still work for the British military. So they were able to use the software and the stuff that basically the British military. So like legit, the British military have accidentally confirmed this. Okay, I'm going to read off some of these measurements that are coming back from the scans because it is phenomenal. Herodotus may have not been mincing his words. So they say that plunging into the bedrock, unveiling colossal complex of great halls at minus 40 meters, minus 60, minus 80, and minus 100 meters. That's a lot of meters. I'm reading this straight from Louis de Cordier's own blog where he's dropped
Yeah, 4 levels of Labyrinth, the likes of which you've never seen.
This information. It says, right, this time a revelation emerged, a central open space connecting several of the other layers, like the atrium of a shopping centre mall, where several floors converge into one grand central hall. It's a massive space, 64 metres wide by 160 long, which is a 5.2 ratio temple chamber, followed by what appears to be a huge gate leading to a cubic space of 80 meters by 80 meters at the heart of the complex, which is interesting because off the top of my head, under the pyramids of Khafre pyramid scans, apparently they had 2 lots of central 80 meter by 80 meter like central square chambers. So maybe this was like a running theme of underground chambers, that at the heart of it you have 80 meters by 80 meters for some reason. We know not why, but that's a very interesting number to come up again at a different site. I'm going to have to make a part 2, so circle back for part 2. But If these claims can...
Yeah, I mean, all the numbers and the measurements, this is all like, what's the words I'm looking for? Knowledge, like it's sacred geometry and knowledge about building. And again, um, it's yeah, like the golden ratio, if anyone's heard of that, and mentioned in the sort of the Tartaria thing with the arches and things. And yeah, it's like advanced building knowledge that was, again, it was giants, and the knowledge was given by the Watchers. This is the crack. But all this is, that's the hardest bit to wrap your fucking head around, to be honest. That all this was built by giants, but that it was. That's the crack. That's how they done it all. And we couldn't fucking do it. We couldn't move half of these things and these stones. And yeah, that's who done it. And that's how all this and the knowledge. And it wasn't aliens, as like the ancient aliens will try and predict it. It was again sky gods. It was gods that came down from the sky. They didn't come in crafts. They didn't need to. Like, that's the thing. They don't need metal craft to get here. They literally can turn themselves into anything, into ether if they want, into fucking man, into woman, into an animal. Again, I believe it was the archangel Michael often turns himself into human form and comes down to aid people now and again. And again, this is, I mean, it's fantastical. Again, I'm the first to say, but unfortunately, this is again the crack. Like, and all this is coming back. Like, it's all coming back again. It's all coming back. So be prepared. Like, it might sound mental now, but give it a couple of years, this might not sound so fucking mental, to be honest. So yeah, it's hold on, play the end.
Can be verified by independent parties and whatnot and whatnot. This is incredible and also hugely embarrassing for the Ministry of Antiquities and Zahi Hawass, who really like put their name on the line.
Yeah, they deny everything. Sorry for this thing in the middle of the screen. Yeah, that guy. She mentioned that guy there, and Egypt, and they cover everything up. They cover everything up. They don't want people to know what's going on, because it leads you to the truth. It really does lead you to the truth when you start realizing what's gone on this planet, and a flood, a massive flood. That's why none of these people and none of these things are here anymore, who built all of these things, and why all these things are damaged, because there was a massive worldwide flood that killed them all, ruined everything, and that was the point of the flood, to do that. And we grew up in the remains of a destroyed world, but we literally have a tale that tells us all this. That's the beauty of it. We have a tale that tells you all it, and that tale is pretty much, well, I mean, the history's true. The history is accurate. The whole future, and again, Jesus was never called Jesus, so that could be a deception. Nobody's saying that the Bible hasn't been changed, hasn't been used as a tool of not only deception but control. Nobody's saying that. Everybody would probably agree with you. That has definitely been done. None of the churches in England, even though everybody's all fighting for this Christianity crack at Christmas, even though Christmas has got nothing to do with Yeshua, it's everything to do with Nimrod. So, again, the churches don't tell you the truth. They're part of the deception. So is the Vatican. The Vatican's covered up a lot more than the Egyptian government ever has. So they're all part of the deception, do you know what I mean? And yeah, it's all been changed, all been used as control. Jesus was never called Jesus. So yeah, all that kind of has been fucked with, but they didn't really change the historical stuff because there was no massive point, because that, again, well, they took a lot out. Again, the giants aren't really mentioned. That's the beauty of it. You've got to, the books that they took out, the Book of Enoch, the Book of Giants, the Book of Jubilees, there's another three, which I can't think of on the top of my head right now. The books they all took out explain the giants in great detail, to be honest. That's kind of why they all took them out, and it gets a brief message in Genesis, a brief mention, sorry, in Genesis, and nobody really pays attention to the giants. Although Goliath's still in there, and Og as well. I think Og's in the Bible as well. So they are still mentioned, but not made a big deal of. Anyhow, that was a crack. Egypt, more stuff. Great labyrinth underneath another pyramid there. Again, built by giants, built by giants, built by the Nephilim and the offspring of the Nephilim. That is the crack. As fucked up as it is, that is the crack. Right, we'll leave you there. Peace. We'll be back probably with more information on this at some point when more comes out. We'll leave you there. Peace.